The Michelin Pilot Challenge
on IMSA Radio, part of the Radio Show Limited Network.
Welcome along to Sound and Vision to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as the RS2 IMSA radio feed goes live with the TV pictures around the world. It's no subscription, no blocks, no breaks. We're up at Bowmanville, Ontario for the action today. 2.4 miles, 10 corners on this classic circuit that's barely changed since 1961, with action areas down at turn 5, Moss Corner, and the end of the Andretti straight into the S's at turn 8. That's terminal velocity there before you turn in right, left, right towards the end of the lap. It's a challenge. It has a bit of everything, and we'll have all the action in the next 2 hours. There's 35 teams in 2 classes with 11 TCRs and 24 GS cars do battle as they're pulling out of the pits. We'll just check in with Shea Adam down in the pit lane to make sure everybody is rolling. Do we nearly have, at least, Shea, an empty pit lane?
Very nearly, John. There are still 4 cars remaining. The number 10 Audi from Rockwell Autosport Development goes by now, the 73 LA Honda World. And finally, the last 2 cars to exit the pits. The 99 VG RT Honda did not make it out for qualifying due to a data logger issue, but it now goes. And finally, the other of the Rockwell Autosport Development cars. So all the cars have left the pit lane, and I am happy to report that both the 28 RS1 Porsche of Eric Filgaris and the 71 Rebel Rock Racing Chevy Camaro have made it to the start of the race. They are starting from the back of the GS grid after contact in qualifying.
That's Shea Adam. She'll report from down in the pit lane. My oppo in the Global Broadcast Centre is Jeremy Shaw. He's going to take a deep breath and rattle through at least the majority of the field as we are standing by for a green flag start. Here's how they line up.
Oh yes, John, plenty of excitement this afternoon. On the back row of the grid in 35th position, car number 15, that's Eric Rockwell. Ahead of him on the grid, Victor Gonzalez in car number 99, Will Talley in car number 73. Next up, also in TCR, is Roy Block in car number 5, that's a lone alpha in the field, and Alex Rockwell, that's father of Eric, who starts at the back, in car number 10. Row 15 on the grid is Taylor Hagler, 2-time defending series champion in car number 1, alongside her Brian Herd Autosport with Kervager Janie teammate in car number 98, that's Mason Philippi. The second row of TCR is Brian Ortiz in car number 91, and car number 33, that's Harry Gottsacker. On the front row of the grid, for the first time this season, he didn't get pole position, has to make do with second on the grid. That's Matt Pombo in the LA Honda World Racing Honda Civic FL5 TCR. It's car number 37, but on the pole position for the first time this year, his second overall. That's Chris Miller in car number 17, Unitronic JDC Miller Motorsports Audi RS3. Moving on to GS, Frank DePuy in car number 71, and Eric Filgaris in car number 28 had an incident earlier on. We'll start in the 12th row of the grid. Ahead of them is Greg Learfouge, who also had problems in qualifying in car number 43, alongside George Stakos from Canada, making his debut for RV Motorsports in a Mercedes this weekend. That's car number 4. Row 10 is Gary Ferreira making his return in car number 11, alongside Ted Giovannis in car number 64. Row 9 is Moise Uretsky in car number 44, and car number 95, that's Robert McGuinness in car number 95. Car number 96, the teammates will start in the 15th position on the grid, alongside Anton Diaz-Pereira in car number 27. Row 7 is Todd Coleman in car number 88 and Bryce Ward in car number 57. Tom Collingwood in car number 83 will start 12th alongside Bob McCalin in car number 59. Top 10 then, Sean McAllister in car number 39 alongside Jensen Altzman in car number 13. Row 4, Adam Adelson in car number 47, all raced in the VP Racing Challenge Series a little bit earlier today, alongside Michael DeMeo. Welcome back to Thay's competition by MC Squared, who made a great debut at Detroit last month. That's car number 78. Top 6 on the grid ends Jeff Mosing in car number 56 from Murillo Racing in a Mercedes, alongside Alex Filsinger, another Canadian, in number 69, Motorsports in Action, McLaren Artura, his best qualifying effort thus far. Row 2, Hugh Plum, car number 46 for Team TGM and Aston Martin, alongside Murillo Racing's championship leader, car number 72, that's Kenny Murillo, and Mercedes AMG. Onto the front row, Rory van der Steur, tremendous qualifying run in his number 19 Aston Martin Vantage GT4, and also impressive, his series debut, also from Canada, for Hattori Motorsports, also making its debut in a Toyota GR Supra GT4 Evo. Car number 50, the pole sitter from Red Deer, Alberta in Canada, is Parker Thompson.
Hattori Motorsports lead them to the line. 2 hours, 120 minutes for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Great lineup from the GS cars. The green flag is in the air. We are racing in a good jump from Parker Thompson, but down the inside, Kenny Murillo has a wee bit of a look. Rory van der Steur says, not on me, not on my watch, and pulls across. That's good news for Parker Thompson, who gets a very decent jump away over the top of the brow at turn number 2, heading down through the dip. Now climbing again through the right-hander at Quebec corner. Side by side, the Van der Steur racing car under a little bit of pressure from Hugh Plum and TGM. They are side by side, excuse me, that's the Murillo racing car. And the Hugh Plum driven Team TGM. Good start as well from the front of the TCR field. It was a full split start. The TCRs, the front of the field, were up inside the top, well up inside the top 10 actually in times. So it was smart for IMSA to split them. They're just coming to Moss Corner now as the leaders are already halfway down the Andretti straight. So no problems for the front end of the grid in TCR. Decent jump away. Motorsports in action, the MIA McLaren Artura GT4 running nicely in 5th position from its grid slot. And a little bit of a battle going on for 6th position. That was Jeff Mosing and Jensen Altsman, who's come up through the field for 6th and 7th. Oh, there's a touch there into the first corner. Oh, that's naughty. That's really naughty by the 56. Jeff Mosing turned into the Mustang and kept turning right. That's going to be a penalty, and Jensen Altsman, who had position by 3/4 of a car's length, is unceremoniously pitched off to the left-hand side of the track. That's not what we expect to see from Jeff. Not sure what was going on there. Suspension damage on the left rear on the number 13 Macumbi Makalia Ford Mustang. That is out of character for Jeff. What was going on there? I'm not sure, but that's not what we want to see at the start of this race.
It certainly isn't. That's a 4th place car in the championship. His car number 56. Jeff Mosing shares that car, has done for many years now with Eric Foss. This is going to be his last season in this championship. The number 13 car has continued. I'm hoping there isn't suspension damage. There's certainly bodywork damage. Oh, yes, there is, isn't there? Because that right front wheel is up in the air, which means the left rear is down. So, yeah, that was really, really unfortunate for Jensen Altsman there. It was super tight, as it always is. That was a completion of the first lap. It wasn't even at the start, and that's not what we want to see. So I just ahead side by side.
So Jensen's through. He's got his nose in front. There's 2 bangs, and then there's continued contact there. And the stewards will look at that. The race control will look at that. I could sort of see the first one as Jeff starts to turn into the right-hander. He's on the other side of the car, and another AMG with problems is Bryce Ward, winner at Detroit, might just get the 57 Winwood car rolling again, but he's been pitched off the track as well towards the end of the lap. I think that's just before turn 9 and 10, and he was facing in the wrong direction, and he's had a touch from the Turner Motorsport number 96 car. That's going to be a penalty as well. And that is going to be a penalty as well, I'm afraid. That was, I mean, if that was a police chase, that's an absolutely textbook flip around with using the left front of the police car to the right rear of the object car. But that is not what we want to see. And into the pit lane, 2 of those AMG, Shea Adam, are watching the action for us in pit lane, and also the number 13 Ford as well.
A down by the Mustang. There is significant damage to the wheel. They are looking in the left rear for suspension damage as well, as the field now goes by to officially put them down a lap. For Jeff Mosing, the right front tire was completely off of the rim, and the McCovey Mackler guys now signaling, no, there is suspension damage to the left rear. The hand across the throat, that is the ominous signal. Further down the pit lane, Bryce Ward has made it in the Windward Racing Mercedes. They've given him new left side tires, pulling the air jack out, making sure it's not on the air hose. That's very important to not get a penalty. And they're going to send Bryce back out. If I look further down, I no longer see Jeff Mosing in the pits, but now I do have Vin Barletta in the number 96 Turner Motorsports BMW. Let's see what work they do on this car. They're doing fuel and putting it up in the air. Left front issue for Vin Barletta. Second in the championship.
So that's two cars who are well up in the championship, Jeremy Shaw. Second and fourth, two of the AMGs involved in incidents for which I think they will be charged with avoidable contact. And that is a massive moment at this stage of the championship.
Yeah, it potentially so, absolutely right, because it's the championship is led at the moment by the number 72 Murillo Mercedes, so teammates number 56. They've got a 60-point edge at the moment over Robbie Foley and Vin Barletta. That's the car that's already in the pits. One of the two Turner Motorsport BMWs, that's car number 96. Third position is Spencer Pumpelly and Tom Collingwood, also from Canada. They've had a pretty quiet season, although they did finish second in the opening race at Daytona, but they're still right there in the points chase. And so this is going to be a big blow to the championship aspirations for the number 56 and 96 teams.
We have got, we've stayed green flag on this, and there was more contact as well from the other Turner BMW with one of the TGM Aston Martins, I think, there, as the number 96 Turner BMW has gone behind the wall. I'm hearing from Shea Adam, we've stayed green. That is the key here in terms of the front of the field. So Parker Thompson, who's pulled out all of 0.3 of a second on Rory van der Steur in the Van der Steur racing machine for team TGM, is in third and half a second back. So the top three separated by just over a second. Kenny Murillo is about half a second further back in third place. So good news for the championship leading car, because two of the chasing pack are already in strife early on, Jeremy.
Indeed so, and the third and fourth place cars certainly closing in on two leaders. Parker Thompson not making any sort of a break here. Turning consistent laps right now. The last three laps have all been within 1/10 of a second at a 1 minute 24.1 or 24.2. He settled into a nice, comfortable, for him, a comfortable pace. The pole lap in qualifying was 1:22.3 to put it into perspective, so almost 2 seconds quicker than they're going right now. But Hugh Plum in third position. I think this is probably the Team TGM's best run so far this season. Okay, we're only 5.5 laps in, but Hugh Plum is closing in on those two leaders, or has closed in on those two leaders, because at the end of the first lap, he was about a second behind them. So, meanwhile, in TCR, Matt Pombo had to give up his opportunity possibly to get a 6th consecutive pole. That would be 5 this year, 1 at the end of last. Started second, but he's made a good early jump here. He's got past Chris Miller, and he's put a little bit of daylight already between himself in the LA Honda World car number 37 and the pole-winning car number 17 Audi.
It's Jeremy Shaw alongside me, John Hindhaugh. JDC Miller has lost the lead in TCR, and that has been turned over to LA Honda World and Matt Pombo in the new Civic FL5 TCR, who is chasing down Frank Depew, who was in the wall in qualifying, so he lost his best 2 laps and put him at the back of the field. His job now just to stay on the lead lap for the GS cars to get his time up, which is 40 minutes in this 2-hour contest. And then Robin Liddell can get into the car and bring the car to the end of the race. So it is Pombal from Chris Miller who's just put in the fastest lap of the race in the Audi RS3, the new version of that car, the Evo, first pole position for that style of Audi, and importantly Pombal's got past the Camaro, going through the twisty bits, through 1, 2 and 3, now under the Chevrolet bridge, down towards the compression before Moss Corner. And a little bit wide for Frank Depew. He steers over the left-hand side, then cuts right in front of Chris Miller as they came through the second part of turn 6, Moss Corner. And that's cost Chris Miller another position as Harry Gottsacker goes through, the first of the Hyundais, the number 33. They're side by side now. That'll slow them down and give Mason Filippi in the number 98 car an opportunity up the inside into turn 8. This will be a brave one if Chris Miller goes for it. He does go for it. They're side by side. All the cars are moving around and Chris Miller decides to back out of it. I think that was smart. That Audi was moving around and debraking as they came through turn number 8 and into 9, now finishing off the lap, and Chris Miller, who started the lap in the lead, is now down to 3rd position. Meantime, fighting back through the GS field, the number 95 Turner BMW, as just hearing from Shea Adam that we've had a couple of cars behind the wall. Shea, what's the situation down in the pit lane?
The Macumbi McAleer Ford Mustang has gone behind the wall. It was just joined by the Bryce Ward-driven Windward Racing Mercedes and also Vin Barlett BMW. All 3 of those cars have gone behind the wall. We just had Jeff Mosing back into the pit lane again, but I don't see him here anymore, John. Is he showing is in the pits on your screen? Because that would mean he too would be behind the wall.
Vin Barletta is in the pits, Bryce Ward is in the pits, Jensen Altman in the pits, so those 3 all in the pit lane. Shea Adam, you're spot on, and that is huge in terms of the championship implications. Nice little bit of opportunist manoeuvre by Matt Pombal a lap or so ago when he took the lead from Chris Miller. So Chris has lost a couple of places, roughly in the same part of the spot there as he was, the same spot on the circuit there, should I say, as he was going up and around Moss Corners, the 5, 6 and 7 areas before the Andretti straight. So, wow, 12 minutes has elapsed already, and we've had enough excitement for a whole championship season. Welcome to IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. It's always this good. Matt Pombal leads in TCR. Parker Thompson by half a second over Rory van der Steur. Toyota GR Supra GT4 from 2 Aston Martins and a Mercedes AMG from a McLaren in your top 5. Jeremy Shaw at the front of the GS field.
Yeah, indeed, and Frank Depew is not winning himself many friends out there today. He was involved in an incident in qualifying earlier on when he took out the RS1 Porsche at the final corner. Just didn't see him, turned right down on him, and that ended both their sessions. Ended the entire session because there was a red flag as a result of that, and there was a red flag also the last time out at Watkins Glen. But at least this time everybody. Pretty much everybody had completed 2 or 3 representative laps, unlike at Watkins Glen where only half the field had really turned a lap. But so the race is now, it's sort of settling down, isn't it? And Matt Pombal is taking advantage of that little miscue by the Chevy to pull away now from Chris Miller, who's got himself back up into 2nd place ahead of Harry Gottsacker. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Parker Thompson, that train behind him is extended now. It's 6 cars in what is effectively the battle for the lead in GS. And overall, Parker Thompson, again, super consistent lap times.
Matt Pombal into the pit lane. I've got a penalty for the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW, number 43, Sean Quinlan, incorrect starting driver. That'll be a stop and 30 for that car. However, this is the TCR leader, Shea Adam, coming to its box, and they are ready to fuel it. What's going on here?
Well, they're going to take advantage of the car being stopped, add some fuel, put it up on the air jacks, and they are changing front tires for Matt Pombo. Remember, he stayed out through the entirety of qualifying using every last minute. Perhaps he just ran out of grip. It doesn't look like it's any kind of issue with the car. I'm happy to report they are actually checking within the front wheel well. Now that I say that, left front and right front. They've given the thumbs up to say, let's put the new Michelin tires onto the car. Matt Pombo nowhere near minimum drive time yet, but this is the car that lives again after a crash at Watkins Glen. It took a lot of effort from the entire LA Honda World crew and indeed Honda worldwide to get it living once again. It was help from Italy, help from all over the world, and the car rumbles back out onto the racetrack. This is not day done for them.
That looks as though they may have been struggling with some kind of steering issue. Hard to say, but certainly they were in the wheel arches on both sides, looking around the front wheels with an hour and 45 still to go. That was all a bit weird, Jeremy, down at LA Honda World.
Very much so. I'm sure Shea will go and have a word with the team and find out exactly what the problem was, because there's no way that was a scheduled stop. I'm sure for that number 37 car. He didn't seem to be losing any time. I mean, he was still out in front of the field at that stage when he came into the pit lane. So curious. There's more to that story than has currently met the eye, as now Frank Depew has been passed by a couple of cars around the outside, and he pulls right across in front of him.
Oh!
You know, for goodness sake, Frank, come on. Pay attention, please.
And the number 59 Mustang has gone around. That's Bob Michelin for Core Motorsport in 11th position. Now, let's find a gear, Bob. He's trying to restart it and get that going. We'll keep an eye on that. That looks like it's at Moss for me at the top of the circuit. Yes, it is. Meantime, Shea Adam can give us an update on why the leading TCR car came into the pit lane. Bear with me for a second, Shea. Just going to see what happened to Bob Michelin. Did he actually get a tap? Yes, he did. And that was the multicoloured Aston Martin that went through the accelerating performance machine of Moise Aretsky, who's come into the pit lane. Meantime, what happened with the Honda? Shea Adam.
We've got a car coming back into the pits, and it is the 37. Once again, I was talking to the team owner, Mario Benuto. He informed me it's a brake issue, and this is not a track where you are okay to have any kind of a brake issue. So they've brought Matt back into the pit lane. They want to diagnose it and fix it before they send him back out, because this car, as I mentioned, was just fully rebuilt. So they want to make sure that all the brakes are working perfectly before they send him back out on the track.
Oh, that is such a shame. They're looking again around the front end of that car. Under the right front wheel arch in particular, the 5-stud rim is going back on there, and they're making sure that the wheel has seated properly. And I think they might have a hub problem here that's manifesting itself as some vibration when they do brake. But I think they've got a hub or a hub carrier problem. Now they've had a bit of a wiggle. Now they've put the wheel back on again. This is very odd. Excellent work to get the 5 studs back on again. The car goes out, spins one of the studs out from underneath the right front wheel. Meantime, at the front of TCR, Chris Miller with a decent lead between himself and Harry Gottsacker. And then behind them, there's a great battle going on. Brian Ortiz having a wee bit of a battle with the number 98 at the moment. And that is the Mason Filippi car. That is battle for 3rd and 4th in TCR as they go past one of the Turner BMWs that's slowed right up as well. So all sorts of GS cars here, Jeremy, out of position. And the TCR cars, which are quick round here, they've got a lot of downforce. They're quick through the medium and high-speed corners, and that is causing problems for the leading TCR cars.
Well, it certainly is, yeah, because you're right, they can carry a lot more speed through the corners than particularly the cars farther down the order in GS, but it certainly makes for exciting racing. But in TCR now, Chris Miller has that lead, and he's pulled out a couple of seconds now over Harry Gottsacker in car number 33. And then behind him, there's well, Frank Depu's still in the middle there of it all, but he's staying out of the way this time. It's good to see. Look, I'm super impressed by Parker Thompson. I always have been at the front of the field. Every lap so far has been within well, now within 0.2 of a second, but that's 11 laps in a row, all within 0.2 of a second, all but one of them within 1/10 of a second. That's fantastic consistency. And finally now he's got a little bit of a break, about a second over Rory van der Steur in the Aston Martin in second position. Similar car, Arthur Plum running nicely in third place. Then they've edged out just a little bit from the first of the Mercedes, that's Kenny Murillo, the championship leader, and then the Motorsports in Action McLaren. So we've got 4 different cars in the top 5 positions, 2 Aston Martins, a Toyota leading, and a Mercedes and McLaren. And they all seem to be pretty closely matched. Fastest lap of the race, however, has been set by Robert McGuinness in that number 95 Turner Motorsport BMW. That's the car that hasn't had any problems so far. Robert started only in the 17th position. He's now moved up 10 places in the opening 13 laps of this race, to run 7th right now, and he's closing the gap quite quickly to Michael DeMeo in the Thais competition by MC² car number 78.
Out from behind the wall, the number 13 Jensen Altsman car. We've got the 44 car taking a penalty. That's Moise Oretsky, but he's just gone behind the wall for Aston Martin and for accelerating performance. That's a drive-through when he comes back. That's the incident responsibility with Bob Michaelian and Core Motorsports. And Shea Adam has some more news about the Honda, which is back in again, Shea.
The second time it came in was because the right front tire was actually flat. That was the new one that they put on. So they put a new tire, another new tire on the car, sent it back out again. The next lap, Matt reported the same thing, still having the braking issues. So it's not a tire-related problem, and it's not handling. It's just when he pushes the middle pedal, it doesn't quite do what it's supposed to.
They are looking again, thank you, Shea, they are looking again at that right front hub and how that tyre is mounting. I wonder if there's something catching there that caught the inner shoulder of the Michelin tyre on the right front. Just to reiterate, as I said before we went to Shea, Jensen Altsman car is back out at least onto the pit lane. The McLaren Ford Mustang, that was the car that was involved in that first incident, waiting to hear what happens there, and it is now leaving the pit lane dead last and 3 laps off the lead. A chuckle from Jeremy Shaw normally signals we have a decent battle, and oh my, do we, in TCR.
Yeah, there's a couple of GS cars that are holding up this train. Gary Ferreira and George Stakos, the 2 Bronze Cup category drivers in this race, they are leading this train of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 TCR cars that are absolutely nose to tail, led by Taylor Hagler at car number 1. That's the 2-time defending series champion. She's running 4th position at the moment in car number 1, but right behind her, Victor Gonzalez come up from the back of the grid. As Shea was saying earlier on, that car, they had some data logging problems in qualifying, so didn't get a run. So a really good run by Victor in the early stages of this race. Then next up is Roy Block, who's already won a couple of races this season, including the most recent race at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago in the Alfa Romeo. Then behind him are the 2 Rockwell Autosport Development Audis sandwiching Dr. Will Talley in the second of the LA Honda World Civics. Great stuff.
And Victor Gonzalez goes through into 4th position after Taylor Hagler got caught up behind some of the other traffic coming out the final corner at turn 10, White's corner. And so there is a change there. It's the Honda now that holds that position. A couple of bits of housekeeping here. Official retirement, I'm afraid, for Bryce Ward. How things can change. What a run at Detroit a couple of races ago, and now already out of the race. Also, the 91 car, that is Brian Ortiz for Van der Steur Racing in the Elantra. That car has gone behind the wall. Matt Pombo's gone back out again with a wobbly right front wheel or whatever it is. And a reminder that the Aston Martin Vantage Moise Oretsky, the accelerating performance number 44 car, has gone behind the wall. That will have a penalty when it comes back out of the pit lane. Still waiting to see if there's any penalty assessed on on that opening lap incident that we saw earlier on? I would say no now, if I'm honest, because they normally do them in chronological order, and as those incidents were after it, that looks very much to me as if that is not going to be penalised for that. And the good news is that car is back out and on the track, the 13 car, but as I said a moment or two ago, that has dropped 3 laps behind the leader, who is Parker Thompson, who's pulled out a handy 1 second lead and continues to lap in the 124 low areas. His best is a 124 flat. That's not the quickest time out there. Robert McGuinness has had a 23.5, so half a second quicker, but it's the consistency of the Hattori Motorsport Toyota GR Super GT4 and Parker Thompson that really impresses. Now he comes up to some traffic. Go to Shea Adam in a moment, and it is the number 56 of Jeff Mosing in the Murillo racing car that is on the back straight now, and the leader will pull to the left-hand side and deal with that as we go to Shea Adam, who has Tyler Maxson.
Tyler, I'm so sorry to be talking to you when your car is behind the wall, but drive shaft issues from you guys. I saw the white smoke exiting the pit box. This hurts even more though when you guys are so close in points.
Yeah, exactly. It's unfortunate, but hopefully get it fixed and get back out and at least try to get some points. It sucks. It's not what we wanted, but especially when the points are this close, but I guess hopefully we can get as many points as we can.
That's what it's about at this stage, is just trying to get it fixed as quickly, because it looks like carnage out there. Anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you never want to hope for anybody else to have bad luck, but that's kind of what we got to hope for at this point, and just, yeah, get as many points as possible and do as good as we can the rest of the year.
Thanks, Tyler. Best of luck at the next one.
Yeah, thanks.
Just to note, we have still not had the number 43, Sean Quinlan, driven Stephen Cameron racing car in to serve its penalty for incorrect starting driver. And that must be getting close to being its 4 times by the start-finish line. That was a stop plus 30 for that car. If it doesn't come in, it'll get more penalty and it will just stop getting scored if it doesn't come in. 93 minutes still to go. We've had plenty of action, but very impressive. Parker Thompson out in front now by 1.3 seconds. Rory van der Steur second for Aston Martin. Third, Hugh Plum for Team TGM, also for Aston Martin. Then the best of the AMG Mercedes, Kenny Murillo, the number 72 car. Alex Filsinger for Motorsport in Action. This is a good run for the relatively new McLaren Artura GT4 in 5th position, and Michael Di Maio in the number 6 Thayer's competition by MC Squared, a car that was on the podium at Detroit, still right there as well, and still well within sight, 7 seconds away from the leaders, and the top 7 or so still within striking distance of the leader, who is working his way through traffic now. Jeremy Shaw at the bottom of turn 2.
Yeah, that was the first lap in this race for Parker Thompson, lap 19, that wasn't on either a 1 minute 24.1 or a 1 minute 24.2. I guess there's been a couple of 3s in there as well, but just amazing. That was a 124.6 for Parker as he threaded his way through a lot of traffic there. But this has been a really impressive drive for him. But of course, he still hasn't pulled away much. He's only just over a second ahead of Rory van der Steur, doing an excellent job in 2nd position. That's the car that was involved in that horrific wreck at, well, frightening wreck. It wasn't really horrific, it was frightening at Detroit when he was assaulted by Robert McGuinness in the Motorsport BMW right at the halfway point in the race. The team has built up a new car in record time to get ready for the race at Watkins Glen, and now Rory has put that car second on the grid and still running in 2nd position as well. That's the number 19 Aston Martin, running just ahead of the Team TGM similar car.
Moment or two ago, a very wide moment for the leader down at turn 2 as he was picking his way past the TCR traffic and went very wide to get past Eric Rockwell in the second of the best place of the Rockwell Autosport Development Audis. Alex is running a couple of places behind with Dr. William Talley in between them in the Civic from LA Honda World. It is still Chris Miller that leads by about 3/4 of a second now. Harry Gottsacker and Mason Filippi have cleared the traffic. Mason's a bit further back, some 13 seconds. But once Harry Gottsacker cleared the traffic, he's been able to close back in on Chris Miller. They're in 15th and 16th, 3/4 of a second apart. But at the moment, the race being dominated and controlled, I would say, at the front of the field by Parker Thompson. This is a very impressive run for him and for Hattori Motorsports. Brand new team to the championship, the Toyota GR Super GT4. We know it's a quick car. It has been somewhat fragile in side-to-side close combat in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge in the past. At the moment, it's free and clear as the leader of the race is coming up to what will be 6th position in TCR as they go across the line. Now and then Rory van der Steur, the white and blue Aston with the yellow bands on the front. That's the second place car. Third is Hugh Plum in the mostly white but with orange and metallic blue. Another Aston coming up behind one of the core racing cars at the moment. That will be the Ford Mustang of Bob Michelin in 24th position overall and 18th in class. So a lot of lappery going on here, Jeremy. This is the time that you can get, you can make big time or you can lose big time, but what you don't want to do is end up in the wall.
Very true, absolutely right, and it's a tricky part of the race for everybody, whether you're in a faster car in GS class or a slower car in TCRs. And here's a battle now with the today's competition. Mercedes looking inside, I think making a pass at Moss Corner on the Mia McLaren. That is the battle now for 5th and 6th positions. Does DeMio have it? He's a local guy, he's from the Toronto area, made his debut, very impressive debut at Detroit with Mark Miller. They finished right up there on the podium first time out. It's going to be a partial season this year, but he's made that pass stick, and he's got, for good measure, a couple of cars between himself and the McLaren. In fact, also I think past that McLaren is Robert McGuinness, who's charged right up into the picture in car number 95.
Correct, Jeremy, absolutely right. So the black and gold Thayers AMG of Robert McGuinness, excuse me, of Michael DeMeo, now up to 5th. Robert McGuinness in the blue and yellow Turner Motorsport car up into 6th position. The Motorsport in action, Mia McLaren, Alex Filsinger in 7th position. Now, a bit of housekeeping. Bad news, I'm afraid, if you're following Accelerating Performance and the Aston Martin Vantage. Sorry about this, Sarah, up in Crewe, who I know is the big Aston Martin fan, tuned into us in sound and vision tonight, watching and listening for free in the UK. That 44 Accelerating Performance car has officially retired. Shea Adam has been watching cars serving penalties. Shea, who came through the pit lane?
Stephen Cameron Racing finally came down for incorrect starting driver and sat with Richard in the penalty box for a whole 30 seconds. And we just had Vin Barletta back down the pit lane in the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW. Not sure what that penalty was for though, John.
That would have been contact earlier on, Shea. Haven't seen that on the race control channel, but that I'm presuming was for that contact earlier on in the race. That had, now who was it who it turned around? Can't remember now, but that was a car that did, it was Bryce Ward, wasn't it, who went around? Thank you, Shea, said that in my ear. Merci beaucoup for that. So, at IMSA Radio, if you can break away from this for a second and you want to tweet us on Twitter. Hello to Sam Pierce. Might just be me, says, but the rear brake discs on the leading number 50 Supra already glowing cherry red as he was going through the traffic. We'll keep an eye on that, Sam. Good eyes. We'll keep an eye, because what you don't want here, Jeremy, is to have any issues with braking. There's a couple of big stops here, isn't there? Back into the pits again. This is going to be a long afternoon and early evening for Matt Pombo and LA Honda World. This is their 5th time into the pit lane with right front issues on that car. Meantime, the lead, all of a sudden, and to quote the new Carrie Bradshaw TV programme, and just like that, Parker Thompson is 4.5 seconds in the lead, Jeremy.
Indeed he is, and not only that, but the gap between second and third is also over 4 seconds. So Parker Thompson there, again, that consistency, brilliant work through the traffic, pulled out 4 seconds over Rory van der Steur, and surprisingly, with all his experience, Hugh Plum has fallen a similar margin behind Rory in third position. Now he's got about a couple of seconds in hand over Michael DeMeo, who's moved himself ahead of Kenny Murillo, as has Robert McGuinness. So McGuinness in that car number 95 started 17th, remember, and is now up into the 5th position and closing and running right with Michael DeMeo. That's the battle for 4th and 5th.
And we have 1 hour, 25 minutes and 38 seconds to go in this enthralling encounter for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Chevrolet Grand Prix.
By the way, John, if I might add, Parker Thompson's last lap time was a 1 minute 24.2.
Oh, he's back. Yeah, he's back. He's back. He's back as soon as he's got a little bit of traffic on the Andretti Straight at the moment, but once he deals with that, there's a decent gap to Frank Depew. So he must be up with the RV Motorsport Mercedes and George Stakos. So once he has cleared George, which I think he's just done as he went into turn 8. Yes, he has. He's now got a short straight, at least, almost the length of the front straight before he catches up with the Camaro. Now, this is really important for the number 71, that it stays on the lead lap. And we've got, 6 minutes, call that 5 minutes to go before the 40 minutes of drive time is up. Down the hill to turn 2 then, the leader in elegant isolation, that red, white and black Toyota Supra GR, Gazoo Racing. Gazoo, of course, the online car sales site that was founded by Akio Toyoda many years ago. It was miles ahead of its time, never really took off at the time that it started, but just kept bubbling under, and the racing arm named after it for Gazoo Racing GR, and with the Gazoo Racing name appended to a number of street cars now, including the Supra and Toyota's World Endurance Championship prototypes, also called GRs as well, with Gazoo Racing based out of the Toyota Motorsport Europe, TTE as it used to be called in its rallying days. Salika's Agogo from there. So as we are creeping towards the 40 minutes, Shea tells me on our talkback system from the pit lane that second drivers are suited and booted exactly as you would expect them to be. Chris Miller in a very impressive 14th position overall, leads TCR from Harry Gottsacker by about 0.8 of a second, with Mason Filippi another 15 seconds further back. That's Audi, and the new Audi at that, not the reverse, or the swan necks rather, on the back of that car. And that was the first pole for that version of the Audi TCR, with the rear aerofoil mounted with the swan necks that come up from behind the aerofoil. That cleans the air onto that rear wing, so that off the rear window and the roof there's actually a cleaner line onto the back of that car. And the Audi already having a little aerodynamic advantage because it isn't a hatchback. And notice as well that in the last couple of years Hyundai have gone to the more saloon-like, sedan-like Elantra. It's a bit more of a fastback, but it does have a little rear deck there, which helps. Oh, and a bit of a slide from Chris Miller going through the first part of turn 3, so he's climbing the hill there, and that, Jeremy Shaw, is just a little bit of encouragement for Gottsacker in second.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, Harry Gottsacker, he's going to be sharing this number 98 car with, the 33 car with the Canadian driver Robert Wickens, who's waiting not at all patiently on the pit wall to take his turn in the latter half of this race. At TCRs, they can do around about an hour, i.e. halfway through this race. If it goes green all the way, they could do just about halfway through, so they'll be staying out for quite a long time yet. But the GS cars, they cannot do an hour unless it's a lot of yellow flagged. So as soon as the 40 minutes are up, which is about another minute and a bit, by another lap or so, we will see some of the GS contenders into the pit lane for their scheduled driver changes. The guy on the move at the moment, Michael DeMeo from Toronto, up into third position now. He got past Hugh Plum a couple of laps ago, and that number 78 car up into third position. That's the Thales competition by MC Squared Mercedes AMG, and what a great debut it has been for that team. Well, great debut it was at Detroit, and now just that team's second race and running right up at the front as well.
They are going to do some more races before the end of the season, is what we're hearing, and hopefully culminating at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, for the Petit Le Mans, the Motul Petit Le Mans weekend. Mark Miller instrumental in getting this team to the track and did more than his bit at Detroit, but I've been very impressed with Michael DeMeo. Has experience, Jeremy. It's not as if he is a rabbit. He raced a few years ago, but he's had a few years out of the cockpit, and he's come back as if he's not. I mean, he's lost none of his. Lost none of his speed and his hunger.
No, a year or so out of the car, perhaps, but you know, he's had success in the past. He won the TC Championship in SRO back in the World Challenge Series back in 2014. He's done a fair bit of Canadian GT3 racing in Porsches, and also driven the GT3 car for Acura for the Compass Racing team as well. So yeah, lots of experience, all sorts of different sorts of cars, and just getting back in the swing of it. But clearly doing an excellent job here, and he's not losing it out at all now. Having made that pass for second position, that's closed down a little bit on Rory van der Steur in second place, as Parker Thompson continues to extend his lead just little by little at the front in car number 50. So Canadians running first and third and seventh with Alex Filsinger at the moment, and a whole bunch more Canadians will get in for the second stint of this race.
Got a slow Hyundai coming out of turn number 6, and I think it was one of the Herta cars, and going to have to see as Ted Giovannis pits just over the 40 minutes, and Frank Depew as well. Now, which of the cars was that was running slowly? I think it was the 33, unfortunately. It was the 33. No, it's not. It's the number 1. It's the number 1. That's Taylor Hagler with a left front tyre issue. Just caught sight of it. It's not the worst thing that can happen here, because that is Taylor's drive time, although they would have wanted to go a little bit deeper into the race. Shea Adam is in the pit lane watching the GS stops and that number 1 car in the pit lane.
Couple laps ago, John, they ran out to the wall to take a closer look at that number 1 Hyundai, just trying to make sure that everything was good on it, and decided yes it was. But the crew has been up on the wall. Michael Lewis ready to jump aboard this 2 times championship winning car for about the last 8 minutes. So they have been ready for her to come in at any given point in time, but yes, making it just to the minimum drive time. This is the first TCR stop, and they cannot go to the end on this one. They will need to come in for more fuel, assuming we stay green. We did have 2 GS cars come in on the far end of the pit lane. That was Ted Giovannis handing over the 64 Aston Martin from TGM to previous race winner Owen Trinkler, and the race winner from 2019, that was Frank Depew, handing over to 2-time race winner Robin Liddell for the Rebel Rock Camaro. The Will Sports car, we welcome back 2 Bronze Cup runners in this week's entry. The 11 has done their driver change, so Gary Ferreira handing over to Chris Wilson, and indeed Sean Quinlan, the number 43 Stephen Cameron Racing BMW, that is also in. We are now having Greg Leafouche put into that car. And now finally, the 88 Archangel Racing Aston Martin, this car comes in. Todd Coleman staying in the pit lane, handing over to 2018, I think it was, race winner Kyle Marcelli.
Thank you, Shea. Hello to Chris Bowler, who's trackside, first time at an IMSA weekend. Glad to have you at the track with me. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for your support. Jerry Z tuned in from Florida, and Zach Buchanan trackside still pointing out, along with a number of others, about those glowing brake discs on the lead car. Still leading in TCR, the Audi of Unitronics, JDC, and a decent bit of clear track ahead of Chris Miller at the moment. Scraps going on down the field, coming into the final corner. BMW from Turner Motorsport, then the Team TGM number 46. Now with Owen Trinkler on board, and right behind, with Hugh Plum on board, excuse me, with Kenny Murillo right behind him. So that's 4th, 5th and 6th. Robert McGuinness, Hugh Plum and Kenny Murillo still yet to pit. Robert McGuinness with the fastest lap of the race, by the way, in that 4th place blue, yellow and white number 95 BMW, right up behind one of the Aston Martins at the moment, and flicks out to the right-hand side to make that pass as he has got pressure from behind. Imperious at the front of the field with a 10.5 second lead, with still 1 hour and 15 minutes to go. Parker Thompson. Well, Jeremy, already 45 minutes expired in this race. The leader comes round, eschews the opportunity to come in the pit lane, down the front straight now for Parker Thompson. Van der Steur and Rory Van der Steur doing nicely in second. Just gradually being caught by Michael DeMeo in that fierce competition by MC2 Mercedes. That's the car I think we've got to keep an eye on, Jeremy.
Yeah, indeed, and behind him now is Robert McGuinness, who's got past Hugh Plum. Both of those two cars have now passed Hugh Plum. I think Michael DeMeo did it about 6 or 7 laps ago. McGuinness has just made that pass into 4th position, and Hugh Plum down to 5th. And as you say, Michael DeMeo, 2.3 seconds the gap from him in 3rd position to the 2nd place car. That's halved the gap in the last 4 laps. So he's pulling him in a half a second a lap. And Robert McGuinness, though, as you said, John, he's already set the fastest lap of the race. He's just gone personal best too, through sector 1 as well. So McGuinness is still charging hard in that number 95 BMW. Number 96 car running second in the championship. Well, that had problems early on, and it's now up to Robert McGuinness to fly that flag for Turner Motorsport, who's had a couple of 1-2 finishes already this year.
Yeah, Vim Barlett is still behind the wheel of the number 96. He sits down in 30th overall, 21st in the GS run. He's been down the pit lane twice. One of those was a penalty, and he is 5 laps off the lead. So this now is just about garnering some points and trying to pass anyone else who has problems. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with Jeremy and me, John Hindorf, in the IMSA Global Broadcast Centre. I still wonder, I wonder, should I say, as Eric Figueras peels in to the pit lane for the RS1, the dark grey machine with the green on it, into the pit lane. When will Parker Thompson come? At the end of his fuel, I suspect. Shea, you've got the CPW Racing RS1 machine with you.
And it's a driver change as Stephen McAleer climbing aboard this Porsche. Great job in the opening stint for Eric Figueras to climb his way all the way up well inside the top 10 as another Porsche was just in getting fuel, tires, and a driver change, and that was BGB Motorsports. It's now Spencer Pompelli aboard that car. There's still damage on the side of the 28 RS1 Porsche, remnants from this morning's contact, but the crew working very diligently to get it fully repaired, and 4 new Michelin tires going on and 1 very fired up Scotsman. So watch out, everybody, because Stephen McAleer is about to head out on the track. And John, just before you mentioned those brake discs glowing on the rear of our leader's car, they are fully aglow to the point where I can see nothing but red at the rear of that car as he comes past me on the straight, nowhere near the brake pedal.
That sounds like that might be dragging a bit. My goodness, how much quicker could he go if they weren't dragging? 2 Mustangs battling away at the end of the Mario Andretti straight. The number 13 back in the fight is Jensen Altsman. He is several laps down on the leader now after being unceremoniously turned around. That didn't get a penalty earlier on, which I have to say I'm very surprised at. That looked like serious and consistent contact between those two cars, but it hasn't been called, so it's not for us to say much more than that. Jensen back out again now, and having dropped quite a lot of laps to the field. He's 13 laps off the lead. He was having a wee bit of a battle there, not for position, with the number 59, Bob McKaylee in Core Motorsport. Bob staying out, but now off the lead lap. Parker Thompson continues to stretch his lead and continues, Jeremy, this metronomic lap time, which we often talk about, not necessarily how fast people can go, although he's not exactly being tardy at the moment. His best lap is a 24.0 in that car. His laps are 24 ones, twos, threes, and a few sixes in traffic, but this has been extraordinary. The variance is going to be next to nothing when we look at his stint average.
Astonishing, yeah. I mean, seriously impressive. This is by Parker Thompson. Now 13 seconds a gap from first to second. Hugh Plum, by the way, continues his slide. He just lost another position in car number 46 to Kenny Murillo in the Mercedes, car number 72, then championship leader, up into fifth position now. And Hugh Plum, who was running for third place and running right with the leaders early on, down into sixth. Just ahead of his running with his teammate now, but he's the number 64 car. It's already at least a couple of laps down after that opening stint by Ted Giovannis. Ted is now Owen Trinkler driving then that number 64 car.
Correct.
That car, you might remember, finished third on the road at Watkins Glen. That's the good news, because the bad news is it failed post-race tech and went to the back. Finished second on the road, but yeah, the rear wing was found to be out of kilter, as was the another car as well, I thought, at Watkins Glen.
It was the number 88 car.
Yes, okay, yeah, Billy Johnson.
Billy Johnson's
Billy
car.
Johnson and Todd Coleman, they had a good result, and that went away as well. And there was a similar problem for the other Aston Martin a couple of races ago as well. But here now is a pit stop for the second placed car.
And Shea Adam is watching Kenny Murillo, who's also in the pit lane for Murillo Racing. Shea?
Our championship leader comes to a stop. They are going to do 4 new tires, Kristen Sechuk, and a lot of fuel in this Mercedes. As back down the pit lane, the service goes on for the Vanderstur Racing Aston Martin, and leaving the pit box and actually very nearly taking out the Alfa Romeo was Scott Andrews, who's just taken over for Anton Diaz Pereira, the Alfa with full service. 2 new tires for them, as they don't really need to do the 4. The back 2 are just there to hold the exhaust off the ground. But Tim Lewis Jr. climbing aboard for the Alfa Romeo team that's won 2 races so far this year. Still waiting on fuel for the Aston Martin, still waiting on fuel for the Mercedes. The Aston got into its box way before the Mercedes, but honestly, I think Murillo Racing is going to get their pit stop done first. All right, Vanderstur is rolling and coming down the pit lane. We're still waiting on the fuel for the Mercedes, but they are going to be much closer when they leave than when they came in. That's a very good stop for Murillo.
33, Harry Gottsager from second in TCR, and Parker Thompson for Hattori Motorsport with still 1 hour and 7 minutes to go into the pit lane. Shea Adam can't go to the end from here.
Nope, he can't, but Billy Johnson has been known to work miracles before, and he knows how to win the race at this track. Remember the beautiful lap that he did after finding victory a few years ago, where he just did one giant smoky burnout? He told me earlier it'd be a lot harder to do that with the Toyota, but I'm up to the challenge. He and Parker Thompson here to do one thing this weekend, and that is to get Toyota to the victory lane for the first time in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. As into the pits is also the number 46 Team TGM Aston Martin. That is Hugh handing over to Matt as the driver change is going on. Both Plums, by the way, I should say. And new tires for the Aston Martin. We've got the 56 6 Murillo Racing car in as well. That's Eric Foss taking over for Jeff Mosing, the car which found victory last year in the hands of Eric Foss and Mark Miller. Mark Miller waiting on the pit wall to get into a different car, the Thayes Competition Mercedes. No hint of them pitting yet as the car drops off the air jacks for the Toyota, and away goes Hattori. Very good pit stop for their first time in sports car racing.
Supported by a number of Toyota dealers, including Don Valley North. Nothing to do with the River Don in the UK. That's just out of Toronto. As you come up towards the racetrack here in Bowmanville, Ontario. So new leader, Robert McGuinness, leads for Turner Motorsport, but owes us a pit stop. In comes the number 78 black and gold Thayes machine, and Michael Tomeo will get out. And that is a driver change, brand new sticker Michelin's to go on. Mark Miller to get in there. Kev Hamilton says this circuit has some huge commitment corners, such a gem of a track. Fantastic to see GS and especially the TCR cars moving around in close quarter battles. Marcos Milonos says great to see the TCR field battling with the slower GS cars. And Dave Lister noticed quite correctly up in Middlesbrough there that Robin Liddell set the new fastest lap of the GS race on his first flying lap in the Chevy Camaro for Rebel Rock Racing. 1:22.9 is the new mark for Robin. He's in 16th in the GS, but still a lap off the lead with the top cars just about to come in. Hello to Liam Harrow. Here's an interesting thought about that leading number 50 car. We'll keep an eye on this. Do we think the traction control might be too intrusive or malfunctioning on Parker Thompson's number 50? Now that car handed over to Billy Johnson. We'll keep an eye. I like your thinking. I like your thinking. Changing the pit lane, Shea Adam. Just as much competition on the pit lane, even on the pit lane speed limit and between the crews as there is out on the track.
And it was a wonderful effort by the hometown heroes, Mia and their McLaren, because the Motorsport in Action crew got their car just slightly ahead of the Thayes Competition Mercedes. Both excellent stops from both of the crews, and it meant that the McLaren is now ahead of the Mercedes. So that's a change for position in the pits.
4 minutes to half distance, and that means that we've seen almost all of the GS cars come in, almost all, not including Robert McGuinness, who not only has been quick, Jeremy Shaw, but he's clearly quite frugal. They're staying out in the 95 and lead the motor race.
Yeah, and you talked about earlier on several times, he set the fastest lap of the race, has Robert McGuinness, or had set the fastest lap of the race, I should say, has Robert McGuinness, but also his last two laps were both 1 minute 24.0, 1:24.02, 1:24.07, and he's still staying out there. It's an amazing run by Robert McGuinness in that Turner Motorsport BMW to get this much out of a tank of fuel, way more than any of the other contenders in GS.
Well, and
a couple of laps more.
And now he's only a couple of laps away from half distance. And if he's made half distance with a formation lap, far be it from me to say, but surely that car could go to the end on a single stop, which I didn't think was possible here. And we'll have to see how that plays out. The number 50 car that has been leading the race, now in third, Billy Johnson has Chris Miller right in front of him. That is the leading TCR car. They're at Moss Corner now, Turner 6 and 7, heading back onto the Andretti Straight, and Billy Johnson, for so long a blue oval driver, will pull out to the right hand side and blast past Chris Miller. Chris will drop in behind, get a little bit of a draft here, I'm sure, and just follow that number 50 GR Supra through turn number 8, the right-hander.
Yeah, it took Billy Johnson a couple of laps to get past him.
It did.
But Billy, he's looking...
Here's the leader coming in from TCR, Jeremy, sorry. Just peeling off there, Chris Miller. So again, this is pretty much exactly halfway through the race, and Chris Miller has stayed out there for a long time as well. Bob McCallion hasn't stopped, and Mason Filippi hasn't stopped. Oh, check that. Yes, he has. Just coming into the pit lane now. with Chris Miller, Mason Filippi and Robert McGuinness also in the pit lane. Shea Adams watching the TCR leader in the pits.
It's going to be a very long stop for Robert McGuinness because he's used up every drop of fuel in the tank as he jumps out of the car and hands over to Cameron Lawrence, a guy who's very good on going long distances on a little bit of fuel. Into the pits came 2 cars, very relevant from TCR, the 98 Hyundai of Brian Herta Autosport. This car now being driven by Mark Wilkins, one of 2 drivers in this race who won in TCR last year. The second driver is his co-driver, was last year Robert Wilkins. Robert waiting to get into the 33. So both of these guys will be able to go out and fight it out for Canadian honor on the racetracks, and both cars will be getting 4 new tires. Now, interesting for JDC, it looks like fuel and driver change. I see no tires, so that is a different strategy.
Here's Robert Wickens coming down the front straight. He's going to take the lead here as he goes through in TCR, and the number 50 Supra is just coming round to the final corner now with Billy Johnson. This is going to be tight. A pit exit, the blue Supra coming down the front straight now, has the speed and will come through with Billy Johnson in the number 50 and sweep through. There's the BMW on his right-hand side. They'll be side by side going over the top of the brow. And that, I believe, is Billy Johnson going back into the lead. That is a super job by all concerned, but what again, net gain, Jeremy Shaw, by the Turner Motorsport guys to be that close to the leader.
Yeah, I mean, look, Robert McGuinness, I talked about just a couple of minutes ago, he was turning some super lap times right at the end of that stint. Low 1-minute 24s, 2 of them in a row after 38 laps. That's amazing. And as a result of that, he's now right on the tail of the leader, and he's slotted himself in between the first and what was previously the second place cars. That's the number 19 Aston Martin with Austin McCusker now driving that car. And they're all a lot closer than they were to that number 50 Hattori Motorsports Toyota. So I think it must have been a slightly longer stop for the Toyota than the other contenders. Do we have laps? The pit stop time.
My interest here, Jeremy, is how much earlier the Supra stopped and whether it can get to the end, because I've got a feeling that the number 95 car, now with Cameron Lawrence behind the wheel for Turner Motorsport, the car with the yellow and blue and the white bonnet, the white hood, I reckon that car's not a million miles from going to the end. It's probably only a lap or 2, if that, from going to the end. The Toyota stopped, 3 laps earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I'm astonished that the BMW was able to go as far as it did. I mean, I would have thought, 38 laps, which is about 55 minutes, that's about the limit normally for GS cars. But they've stolen the march here as that BMW team of Turner Motorsport, and they've stayed out there longer than everybody else. I don't think anybody else has an opportunity to get to the end without a pit stop. I really don't.
Certainly not at full speed, Jeremy. It would have to be a lot of fuel saving.
Yeah, well, I mean, even then, I mean, like I say, Robert McGuinness was turning as laps quicker than the race leader on his 39th lap.
From Shea in the pit lane, she has the pit stop times 1:17 for Turner Motorsport, 1:24 for the Supra, and maybe we can shed some light on the rear wheels as well. And Quentin Osborne has got the really good eyes. Red highlights painted on the rear wheels of that car, and I've looked closely at this now as well, and I think that might just be slightly playing tricks on what we could have seen. Marcos Milonas also spot that as well, maybe to mark the valve stem location, and that might just be throwing us off a little bit on the back of that car. Certainly hasn't been, oh yeah, I see that now. I think that might have been throwing us off, certainly hasn't been slowing it down, but what we have is a really splendid race at the front of the field. When the leader in TCR came in, by the way, they went to work on the 2 front wheels and just the front wheels on that car. And what was going on from over the wall as well there? but that car has dropped into second place and now is some 20 seconds behind Robert Wiggins. I said that the 33 car was coming through at the time we were watching the leaders in GS, but Wiggins has gone through and cleared off Jeremy Shaw in the TCR battle.
He has. You're absolutely right. And if they can stretch their fuel, it'll be they'll have to do 70 minutes because number 33 car was in with 51 minutes in the books. 36 laps, I think he completed on that first stint. If they can go 70 minutes, which I think is stretching it in a TCR, then maybe they can pull off a remarkable victory here. It will be the second year in a row for Robbie Wiggins. Last year was, well, pretty dramatic because he hadn't driven a car here before the race. You'll remember he had to scoot back to Indianapolis on the Friday of the race meeting when his wife Carly was getting ready to deliver their first child, and there was some. So he scooted on home, came back in on Saturday night, hopped in the car Sunday, or I guess it was Friday night, got back in the car on Saturday morning. It's a Saturday race, of course, wasn't it? And ended up with a win, which is a fantastic performance by Robbie, and he's trying to repeat it again here at his home track.
Spots of rain reported around the circuit as Robin Liddell has just moved up another position and was battling with Nola Sports' Elliot Skier, and just checking a couple of things. Tom Collingwood still shown behind the wheel of BGB Motorsports. Spencer Pumpelly in that car. It has to be at this time, otherwise he would not get his time in, but we'll check that as soon as we can. Meantime, down in the pit lane, Robert McGuinness, who drove a stunning first stint for Turner Motorsport, and let's not forget this is a driver on probation, so had to be clean as well. Shea Adam, magnificent stuff from Robert.
I think the thing we all want to know, Rob, is how in the world did you manage to go that far on fuel and yet turn lap times that fast?
Well, I mean, this car that Turner Motorsports gave me is awesome. It's fast everywhere, so that's great. That helps a lot when you're making your way through the pack. Just early on, there were a lot of guys that I had more pace than, and, you know, Motorsport, it's a tight, high-commitment, fast track, so I really had to time my passes. It allowed me to save a lot of fuel out there behind some of these guys. I was saving, I mean, tons early on in the race, so I think it's worked out great. I think we're in a great spot, and I know Cameron's going to do a great job here.
Well, I mean, you've got Don Slom on the box for you. We know that he knows how to win races because you've won 2 out of the last 4. Turner has as a group. Is he going to be on the horn to Cameron saying, hey, save fuel anytime you can, or do you have to let him push as hard as he can?
I don't know. I haven't talked to Don. I just got out of the car. Cameron's always at his best when he's just going flat out, right? That's where Cameron Lawrence is in his like happy place. So I hope we let him go and, you know, we can go fight for this thing.
Hey, good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
They must be thinking they can go to the end here, Jeremy. And a splash for Billy Johnson, maybe. Cameron Lawrence right underneath the rear wing of that Toyota down through Clayton Corner, turn 2, now heading uphill at Quebec Corner. And at the moment, these two are 3 seconds ahead of Austin McCusker in the Van der Steur racing car, who is not really gained a little bit last time, but he's not really making a charge at the moment. It's another nearly 4 seconds further back to Stephen McAleer in the RS1 number 28 Porsche. Good run for Jesse Lazar and the team from Motorsport in action, the Mia McLaren Artura, another 6 seconds further back, but we're still only talking 13 seconds for the lead for that 69 car.
Yeah, that's right, and Jesse Lazar has been making ground toward that car in front of him, which is Stephen McAleer. So that McLaren is running really well at the moment. Last time around, but
challenge for the lead, Jeremy.
23.5.
And this is the first time we've seen the Turner BMW out of the slipstream on the straight at the back of the circuit. And for a moment, Cameron Lawrence was alongside, but on the wrong side of the car, at the wrong side of the track. But now pulls out the right-hand side. A little bit of blocking from Billy Johnson. Just moved to the middle of the front straight, down towards turn 1, and Lawrence has been... I wonder if Lawrence has been released here with 52 minutes to go. Have they told him his fuel number's okay? And now he can have a go. And the Supra's moving around at the top of turn 2, and off goes Billy Johnson. just lost the back end of the Supra going across the rise down into turn 2, and there's a new leader, and it's Cameron Lawrence for Turner Motorsport, and that, other than the pit stop, is the first time that the Hattori Motorsports Toyota GR Supra has been headed, and it is by Turner Motorsport.
Indeed so. At 3 laps ago, Billy Johnson set that car's fastest lap of the race, a 1:23.87 for Billy, but he wasn't able to pull away from the BMW. Not only that, the BMW is a lot more consistent than the Toyota at this stage in the race. Plus, of course, it's got an immense fuel advantage at this stage. So it's looking good now for Turner Motorsport yet again for the team. It will be the team's 3rd win of the year. They've already won twice in the hands of Robbie Foley and Vin Barletta. This car, the number 95 car, has not yet won a race this season. Possibly should have done in Detroit without the incident that Robert McGuinness had with the Van der Steur Aston Martin, because it was certainly running in contention to do so there. But Cameron Lawrence now is out front, and I think he's probably quite likely going to pull away.
Got a whole gaggle of cars ahead of him that he will have to negotiate, starting with some TCR traffic, and I think that's the number 33 Hyundai that he's gaining on now as he goes up to the top of the rise in turn 3. Does not appear that the raindrops are getting any worse, and Austin McCusker is hoving into view in the blue and white Van der Steur racing car. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Meantime, at the front of TCR, Robert Wiggins could almost stop and make himself a cup of tea. He's so far ahead at the moment. Some 19, nearly 20 seconds between the number 33 of Robert Wiggins and the TCR second place Unitronics. That's the yellow, white and black Audi that started on pole position. So that is an interesting battle. Another 11 seconds further back for the number 98 of Mark Wilkins, another one of the Hyundais. Then a big gap back to Denis Dupont in the number 15 Rockwell Autosport Developments Audi. That's your top 4, with Tim Lewis another dozen seconds or so behind TCR. Uncharacteristically split up at the moment. You can't say about the leading 3. 7 seconds between the top 4, and Jesse Lazare and Matt Plum come in for their splash. They are stopping now. They can't make it to the end. In the Motorsports in Action McLaren and the Team TGM Aston Martin Vantage, they'll be taking fuel only and going to the end 49 minutes away. So anyone ahead of them now, Jeremy, who thinks that they've got a problem with fuel, they're almost bound to come into the pits in the next lap or so.
Yeah, so they've played their hand early here, and if there's a full course caution, it won't play into their favour, because Cameron Lawrence, if there is a caution, with the car having done virtually, it did an hour, didn't it, in the first stint, so he should be good to go in any case.
58 minutes, plus a formation lap. There was just on 3 minutes when he pulled into the pit lane, an hour and 3 when he came in. So it'd be...
I don't think it was, John. That was the previous lap. Number 17 car came in on 58 minutes, according to my reckoning. And number 95 car did one more lap than that.
Wow, okay.
It was all but an hour. So if there's a caution, he's golden. The question is, would a caution help these other cars, such as the Toyota that came in, as you said, 4 laps earlier, came in on lap 37, or after 37 laps, did number 50 car.
So at Hattori Motorsport, 36 laps did they do?
Hattori did 37.
37, yeah, as they crossed the line. 37. Wow. So that was well ahead of pretty much everybody else, other than Robert McGuinness, who did 41 laps into the pit lane. That's extraordinary. Drive-through penalty just down the pit lane. Now, was that the number 56 I just saw, Shea, coming down the pit lane?
No, it was the number 1. It was Michael Lewis who did a drive-through. No hint of stopping in his box. The 56 is still in its box. No, that's just come out from behind
the wall. The number 1 car's just come back out from behind the wall. Yeah.
Oh, excellent then. No, the 56 has been sitting in its box for quite some time with extensive work going on the front of the car, but they are making no effort to take it back behind the wall. The other thing that we need to keep in mind, gentlemen, there are heavy raindrops that are falling intermittently, and there is a big green blob on the radar. So is that going to rear its head? And can cars stay out until, if possibly the rain gets heavier, to fill it up with fuel and put rain tires on?
Zach Buchanan's on the front straight at the circuit. He says rain picking up there, and also Tom Harder spotting raindrops on the Supra windscreen as it's driving around. Now, what do we like to say about motor racing? It's not that we haven't had drama, but if you want a bit more, just add water. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, 46 minutes to go in the Chevrolet Grand Prix weekend for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. The lead is half a second now. Cameron Lawrence over Billy Johnson. Well, there's a bit of experience in that Toyota Supra in second place. Then 2.5 seconds back to Austin McCusker for Van der Steur Racing. Then another 4 seconds or thereabouts to Stephen McAleer. Cameron Lawrence, Billy Johnson, Austin McCusker, Stephen McAleer and Mark Miller making up your top 5. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. Fierce competition by MC Squared. The Mercedes, the black and gold car, still right in the hunt. And in TCR, Robert Wiggins in 15th overall still leads by 18 seconds from Mikey Taylor, who's 12 seconds ahead of Mark Wilkins. That's Hyundai, Audi, Hyundai. And I suspect, Jeremy Shaw, the headlines are not being written in the press room just yet.
No, hey, John, you shouldn't even need to say that's a Michelin Pilot Challenge race.
Fair point, well made.
We know that there's always going to be some drama later on, perhaps, but this has been a tremendous race so far. And just looking at the pit stop times, the slowest of the pit stops was that third phase competition Mercedes. 1 minute 29 for that stop against the 1 minute 10 of the RS1 Porsche, which was the fastest car on pit lane. I wonder whether the number 28 team decided to do 2 equal stops or more equal length stops rather than a full fill for some of these other guys. But still, a Turner Motorsport car at a 1 minute 17 stop, that's still amongst the quickest ones in any case. So really, really interesting. Robin Liddell, by the way, is up into 9th position now in that Camaro, car number 71. That's the car that set the fastest lap of the race. It's also the car that was fastest in practice yesterday, but he, for sure, needs another pit stop.
Just a reminder, the 56 Mercedes still in the pit lane for Murillo Racing. We'll get Shea to nip down there and find out what's been going on. That was the car that did have a little ding earlier on, and that was with the 13 Mustang, and no, that was the no, that was there. That was not penalised as far as I can see. The problem that car had, the number 56 car that I'm talking about now, the Murillo AMG, had a problem at turn 6, and that was some nearly 20 minutes ago now. It did get back to the pit lane, but it has not gone any further than that. Shea Adam will give us some news on that in a wee moment or two at IMSA Radio. If you want to get in touch with us, Max has just tweeted and said you've no idea how loud I shouted out of excitement when the Turner car took the lead. It might have been a bit too much excitement. Too much excitement, man.
No, you can't be too excited. No,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Don't forget, we'll be awarding our Michelin moment of the race for both classes, one in each class, to the team driver or individual that we think has provided us with the most excitement or affected the race result most positively, and that team will get a brand new set of Michelin race rubber for the next race. There was a penalty for the 56 now. I've just checked back with that, and it was served. It was ages ago. Shea Adam down in the pit lane.
Severe suspension breakage on the 56. They've put a new A-arm on, they've got a new strut, shock, and everything that you could possibly imagine to go with the suspension, as the brake disc and hub sits limply as nothing is still attached. So the work continues for Murillo Racing in the 56. Their championship leader is circulating quite well around the circuit right now, so at least that's the good news for them, is that the 72 continues to go round and round, but it's been a rough day for the 56 and their championship aspirations.
Oh, Spencer Pumpelly, thank you, Shea. Sports, thank you to Alcamel for flipping that over on the timing screen. You can follow along with us, of course, with the live timing. Alcamel, IMSA, go and search that and you'll easily be able to find it. Robin Liddell continues to move up the field. He's now into 9th position and he begins to close in on Spencer Pumpelly in the BGB Motorsports. A Porsche, that's the battle for 8th and 9th. He's only a second behind. Did a 23.4 last time around against a 25 flat. Not sure he can go to the end. They were one of the early stoppers at just after 40 minutes, around about 43 minutes. So he will be coming in shortly, I'd expect, for a splash to go to the end of the race. Might want to stay out a little bit longer and see what this weather does, Jeremy, and see if the weather gets any worse. It's still just spitting, but resolutely refuses to get any worse at the moment.
No, I agree. If you can save a pit stop, then that's definitely the right thing to do. And I'm sure the teams will stay out as long as they possibly can before they come onto pit lane to change tyres. Another pit stop for the number 37 car. It's well out of contention now, of course, after those problems early on.
7th pit stop for that car, and in behind it is Robin Liddell. So they have gone as far as they want to or can do, Shea Adam, and it sounds like new tyres for the Scotsman.
New tires with nice, pretty, shiny stickers on them. So Robin Liddell is going to be very, very content as he looks to try and defend his honor of winning this race every other time that we have it, as he's done for the last, 4 occasions. Brilliant stop by the Bravo Rock crew. Big round of applause for them as they finished refueling as the car came off the air jacks and Robin roared back into life.
So that's going to drop him out of contention. He should stay just about on the end of the lead lap, though. That's the most important point, and he will be able to run full rich. Hello to Tyler Cole, sprinkling for the last 10 minutes at Moss Corner, possibly just psychological rain, but it feels like more that's coming, and Donald apologises. From Indiana, we appear to have sent you the big green blob on the radar. Thank you to you all at IMSA Radio, of course, as usual, at the front of the field. Still just 1.2 seconds. Is Billy Johnson biding his time? This is interesting. Very interesting at the front of the field, Jeremy Shaw. Maybe an element of fuel saving by the Supra. They're going to have to go a long way to make it to the end, and they have quite a number of laps deficit on that BMW ahead of them. We know it's good on its tyres, we know it's fast, it's also clearly quite frugal.
Yeah, we've still got plenty of time to go in the race. What about the minimum drive time? 38 minutes there is still to go, so we're certainly not going to call anything yet. And those rain sprinkles, that's certainly a concern for some teams, for other teams are praying for some rain, including some of the drivers. But this is a pretty sketchy place in the dry. It's sketchy in the wet. In intermediate conditions, it's really sketchy.
Michelin in RS1's Porsche. This from David G. What happens if you pit before the scheduled driver change, but after, say you had to do some major repairs to get it back out the track, you still get a driver change? In the pit lane, the time does not count. So when we say drive time, we mean outside of the pits. So if your first driver comes in and spends 5 minutes in the pits in the first 45 minutes, then he's got to go to 45 minutes, not 40, before he's hit minimum drive time, David. So good question to ask, and that's the situation. I believe that everybody did that at least on their first stop. Very quick stop, Shea Adam, for the RS1 Porsche, and Stephen Michelin is already out of the pit lane.
It was enough fuel to get him to the end of the race, and that was it. No tires, no windshield tear off, no mechanic even looking at the car while the fuel hose was attached on the nose of the car. That's how they refuel these Porsches. And as soon as they had enough to go, they pulled the refueler off, and Stephen McAleer began to roll.
Live coverage of the Chevrolet Grand Prix weekend. It's IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Adam, you heard there down in the pit lane. Jeremy Shaw and me, John Hindhaugh, in the Global Broadcast Centre for IMSA TV and Radio, majestically together with sound and vision. Good to have your company. Just coming down to 36 minutes to go. It's on a knife edge at the front of the field. 1.4 seconds between Cameron Lawrence in the yellow, blue and white bonneted Turner Motorsport BMW number 95, heading towards Moss Corner at the far side of the circuit from the pit lane now. Billy Johnson in his wheel tracks in the mainly dark blue and red Hattori Motorsports Toyota GR Supra GT4. And that is the battle for first and second. 5 seconds further back, the blue and white Van der Steur Racing Aston Martin Vantage number 19. Third position. Fourth, the black and gold 78 Mark Miller driven AMG Mercedes. Then another 3.5 back to Christian Simchak for Murillo Racing in the orange number 72. That's in fifth position. Sixth, another 16 seconds further back, Spencer Pumpelly for BGB Motorsports. A few cars there that might have to stop before the end of the race, but the first 5 cars only separated by 16 seconds, and at the moment the Turner Motorsport car not only 2 seconds to the good, but in good shape as far as fuel is concerned as well. Jeremy Shaw.
And the 14 cars then on the lead lap, all GS. The first car a lap down is the TCR leader, that's Robbie Wickens, who's still maintaining a pretty healthy gap over Mikey Taylor in second position. The last car on the lead lap is Robin Liddell in that Chevrolet Camaro for Rebel Rock Racing. He was able to make that second pit stop, so he's good to go on fuel. And with that fresh set of tyres we saw him put on at that last pit stop, he's just reset the fastest lap of the race, 122.544. That is 0.6 of a second faster than his own lap record set here last year, 23.1. Pit stop there for the sixth place car barn Porsche caliber 39.
Just noticed that Victor Gonzalez Racing Team had been in the pit for quite some time, and we haven't had an update on that. Shea read my mind and is down there for the 99 Honda.
Ask and you shall receive, or don't even ask and you shall receive. A steering issue for that car. So for that poor little team, when it rains, it pours. They had the data logger issue that didn't allow them to go out for qualifying. They're now packing up their pit box.
Power steering issue then for that car. Thank you, Shea Adam, down in the pit lane. Right, this is getting very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed at the front of the field. And I'm keeping an eye on everything that I can at the moment. Robin Liddell, just crunch some numbers by the way. When he got in the car, he was pushing really, really hard. And I reckon he took about 40 seconds out of the leader, maybe a little bit more than that, in the 40 minutes that he did that stint. Now he's dropped back having done his final pit stop. And I'm just going to see if I can work out. He dropped off the lead lap, Jeremy, did you see?
No.
So he's right on the end of the lead lap, is he?
Correct.
Well, he's not potentially in with a shout of the win unless something goes very odd, but goes very strangely in front of them as Robin Liddell does another fastest lap of the race as we're talking about. He's 1:12 behind the leader, a 1:22.455. And he's been out there again for about 8 or 9 minutes. He'll easily get to the end. Can he do the same sort of run that he did before? He's now right behind Kyle Marcelli for Archangel Motorsport. Maybe get into the top 6 if he gets the same sort of run. Maybe. That'd be quite a drive by the Scotsman. Just, I think his teammate Frank Depew just dropped off the lead lap, didn't he, in that first stint, which meant Robin had to do perhaps a little bit more than they had planned in the last outing here at Canadian Tire Motorsport for the Camaro. This is its farewell season. Let's hope it does better here than Mark Cavendish did today in the Tour de France. If you haven't seen that already, I'll stop talking in case I'm spoiling anything for you.
Thank you.
Scott Andrews, sorry Jeremy. Scott Andrews in and out for Lone Star Racing, having a fairly quiet race. Would have expected to see that car perhaps closer to the front. That's number 27 machine. Goes out inside the top 10 though when it came in.
Yeah, and Anton Diaz-Pereira, he did keep that car on the lead lap before, I think, handing over to Scott. So he's had a good run since then, has Andrews. And he has made a second stop, I believe, in this race, Scott Andrews. So he should be good to go from there. And he's ahead, only just, of Robin Liddell, who's just got past Carl Marcelli.
Correct, that lap. He'll be looking to go further up the field. They put a splash in that car, and I'm hearing from the team now they might not have got enough into that car to get Robin full gas to the end, which would be very unfortunate because he's clearly got some pace in that car at the moment. New fastest lap in TCR for the Alfa Romeo. It's Tim Lewis who's taking that car over for the second half of the race. It's in 5th at the moment and is 4 seconds away from Denny Dupont in 4th. Then there's quite a big gap back to the top 3, still led, by the way, by the Hyundai of Robert Wickens. However, Mikey Taylor has closed in. It was 20 seconds. It's now about 13 seconds. So that is coming down. Well, let's not worry about that at the moment because there's no need for Robert to be doing anything else other than he's doing. His lap times are fairly consistent in the mid 125s. The car's done a 24.9 as its fastest lap. He's lapping half a second, 6 to 7 tenths away from that. I don't think we have to worry about that right now.
And the best place of the cars that have made 2 pit stops is Stephen McAleer, who's running 6th in an RS1 Porsche. That's the car we talked about doing kind of 2 equal length pit stops. He came in on lap 35, which was before most of the other leaders in GS, and not on 33 laps he came in, which is before most of the other leaders in GS. Came in again after 57 laps. And it's certainly good to go from here and running, as I say, in that 6th position. And he's got a few seconds in hand over Elliot Skier in the Motorsport Porsche. So battle for kind of first in class there. And even with that second stop, he's 45 seconds behind the race leader.
Do you know when I said I don't think we have to worry about Robert Wickens? I'm starting to worry about Robert Wickens. He's almost... Mike Lamara is right with him and trying to unlap himself from that 33 car in the white and light blue Honda. And Robert's car's just moving around a little bit. I'm not sure what the strategy was at the pit stop for the number 33. They did a really good job, but he's been out there a bit longer than most of the other cars in terms of tyres. And I wonder if Shea can find out if it was a 4-tyre stop or just the fronts. For that number 33 car, because the back end is just starting to look a little bit of a handful for Robert. Now, in fairness, that's how the pro drivers like them. They do not like an understeery car, even a car that's pushing, even a front wheel drive car. But it's starting to look a little bit more of a handful as the lead between 1st and 2nd is back down under 2 seconds, 1.7 seconds. However, there is a car between the 2 leaders, and the spitting rain, the drizzle, it's not even drizzle really, it's the odd spit and spot, probably worse at the far end of the corner towards Moss Corner, where it's been like that for a while, and down the Andretti Straight it's just enough to start to get the raindrops to move on the windscreen. So that's sort of psychological. If I was on my motorcycle now and that was on my visor, I'd be not wanting to tip the bike in quite so much, and that's what these drivers are having to do, assess whether that's that rain, which is falling. We've still got a warm track, by the way, 28 Celsius on the track. Well, that rain that's falling is actually affecting their grip or not, and that's what they've got to try and do. Rockwell car now in between first and second in GS as they go through turn 1, and the BMW crests the skyline at turn 2, dropping down the hill. Here comes the Supra. Good looking car, that Supra, Jeremy, with the double bubble roof. There's an awful lot of classic Grand Tourer in that car, and this is going very, very well for the Hattori Motorsports team.
Very impressive IMSA debut for this team. They're running that car in other series this year in North America, so they've got plenty of experience with the car, but the first time in IMSA competition, and it's been a tremendous run for them. And generally speaking, we see Arve Motorsports running a Toyota here for the Toyota Gazoo Racing South America team. Not here this weekend, not quite sure why. Whether it's problems getting the car over the border for some reason, I don't know, because the team is here, because they're running a Mercedes car number 4 for George Stakos and the team principal, Tony Arve, but that regular number 14 car isn't here. And there's a problem for
Chris Wilson. It's the Will Sports car all the way down the hill and then back up again to Moss Corner. Coolant, I believe, coming out of both sides of the front of the number 11 car. This is the very handsome red, white and light blue driven Brands supported AMG. He's out of the way behind one of the tow trucks. I think that's fine. And by the way, I got a slightly confused message. I apologise. It's not, it isn't the Camaro that's short on fuel. It is the Thais, Mark Miller driven Thais competition Mercedes that is a little tight on fuel. That car has only made one pit stop, and that makes far more sense to me. Sitting in 4th position with Mark, pushing on though, under 1 minute 24 last time around.
Yeah, it was a long first stop, but I don't see any way they could get to the end without another stop in any case. Well, it was fairly close, but they came in with about 56 minutes in the books. But that leaves 64 to go to the end of the race. Okay, you don't have the parade laps you had early on, but I think it was a real stretch to get that car to the end from there.
25 minutes to go. Michelin moment of the race. I suspect we might not have had it yet, although the overtake for the lead for Turner Motorsport, Cameron Lawrence pushing Billy Johnson into a mistake. That's not words I've said very often, Jeremy Shaw, in our time of talking about IMSA racing and Billy Johnson being in it. That would certainly be right there. It's been good tactics as well by the Turner Motorsport team.
Yeah, brilliant tactics, of course, but also, I mean, astonishing fuel mileage. I mean, just astonishing fuel mileage for that BMW to go 3 laps more than anybody else in GS. That's a lot, particularly turning laps as fast as it was. That's not just strategy, that's pace, performance, everything else. I'm not sure that's a strategic call, which is rare to say for Turner Motorsports, because they are amongst the best strategists in the business here, with Don Salama calling the strategy there. But I don't think this one is particularly down to strategy. It's down to a whole bunch of factors. Execution
being the best part. They have really made the most of what they've got. Let's check back in with Shea Adam. Whilst we talk about TCR leader, we've been a little bit worried. I set Shea a task to find out about the tyre strategy for the number 33 Hyundai, which leads in the hands of Robert Wiggin. What have you been able to find out from Brian Hurd at Autosport on that leader in TCR?
All thanks to Katie Brennan. As usual, they did 2 tires on their stop, but they are more concerned about the fuel number for Robbie Wickens, so that could be why we are seeing some conservative and spidey driving from him out on the track, because he doesn't have all the grip that he normally would. But I'm also seeing another team up on the wall, the 19 Vandersteur Racing Aston Martin. They're about to come in for a splash of fuel.
That is in the pit lane now, in fact, Shea Adam from 3rd overall. So through goes Mark Miller across the line and takes 3rd in the Thais competition by MC Squared. Already had a maiden podium in their debut outing at the Detroit Street Race. Shea Adam watching on as the Van der Steur Racing gets quite a lot of fuel there, Shea Adam. That was stationary for a longer time than I anticipated.
It was still a time stop though, and the guy who actually had the stopwatch was also holding the pit board, which he flipped around and then used to hit the guy with the refueling nozzle to signal him when to stop putting fuel in. So we've seen dog leashes used in the past from Wayne Taylor Racing back in the day. I think it was Fonzie's leash actually. But this one, that's a bit more creative, and then they don't have to put anything extra on the truck. I quite like that from Van der Steur.
Yeah, very good. Rain still falling at the back of the circuit, but it seems that by the time you get about halfway down the Andretti straight, there might be the odd spitting spot in the S's now, but it's really from turn 3 to turn 6 that it's still there, and if anything it might be getting a little heavier, but the rest of the track, it's by no means the same sort of intensity, and we've got 22 minutes still to go here, Jeremy, and Cameron Lawrence cannot pull away from Billy Johnson. 2.6 seconds, he's edged away maybe, half a second, 0.8 of a second, but that's all.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the gap was pretty consistent, just under 2 seconds, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9. They're just a little bit more than that now, but not much. The question for both those two is fuel. Can that number 95 car do the same length as it did in the opening stint of the race? I see no reason to suspect it shouldn't, but number 50 car, I think they're going to have to stretch their fuel a good bit longer in order to get to the end from here. I'm sure the number 50 car is amongst several out there hoping for some rain or hoping for a caution or hoping for something to drop the pace of this race, because it's been very consistent at the front. 1:24.6 last time around for Cameron Lawrence, but he was doing 24.2s, which was the early pace. You might remember that Parker Thompson was setting metronomically in the first stint of the race. And he's not as consistent, Cameron Lawrence, but he's certainly turning 24.2s when he needs to or when he can, when there's clear track.
Dave Lister, I'm not sure what screen you're looking at, Dave. He said, when did the lead BMW make its extra stop, showing us having picked it twice? I'm not seeing that on either of the screens that I've got, Dave. So, and Shea confirms only one stop. It was pretty much exactly on the hour mark. A remarkable 41, 42 laps, Jeremy, when that car came into the pit lane. A good 4 or 5 better than anybody else. So we're talking, 10 miles, 10 to 12 miles further than anybody else. We finally have the Murillo Racing number 56 car that's been sitting on the pit lane for quite some time. That's now gone behind the wall. Add that to Van der Steur Racing's number 91. The Accelerating Performance Aston Martin number 44, Winwood Racing number 57. And I wonder, Shea Adam, I can see that we've got some movement for the sister car of that Mosing machine.
I can imagine that there was some conversation that went on that said, excuse me, we would like a clean into our pit box, and we do not have that if you are stationed there. Can you please put the bits on necessary to drive back to the garage and finish your work back there? And the answer was, yes, sorry about that. Awkward.
Owen Trinkler has been in and out. That will be his last stop. And the rain at turn 1 is now bad enough for Billy Johnson to want to use the windscreen wiper on the Toyota. Now, that is last resort as a racing driver. You never want to wipe that screen unless you have to. You're hopefully allowing all the treatments on the tear-off screens to do their job, and he's got the intermittent wipers on now, so it is getting worse. 28 degrees track temperature. Is it causing problems for the times? They're still lapping mid-124s, Jeremy. It's not really slowing them down, but it's starting to look quite dicey on the windscreen. This is where you've got to get your mind out of it and trust what you can feel through the steering wheel.
Looking from these onboards that we're getting, great onboard shots here. There certainly seem to be more umbrellas up on track side than there were a little while ago, and there's definitely more precipitation falling at the moment than there was, but it's still not enough really, as you say, John, to cause any severe loss of pace out there. I mean, it's just distracting a little bit for the drivers at this stage. Wait until Cameron Lawrence comes across the line to complete this lap. He does now. It's a 1 minute 24.5 again, so a couple of tenths of a second, so basically no time loss at all at this stage, just something that the drivers have got to keep their eyes on. Not going to have much choice because they see it on their windscreens, but not to be distracted at this stage in the race. It certainly isn't slowing them down at all yet.
The umbrella's going up. Sean Kelly, who's at the top of turn 2, saying it's raining at turn 2 now. So it is now beginning to get to the stage where the drivers can feel it, and Billy Johnson is closing in. Is this his opportunity in the Supra? They're still not slowing down. 124.5 last time around by Cameron Lawrence in the lead BMW. Second, 124.4 for Billy Johnson. Went 24.7 for Mark Miller in third. Went 24.5 for Christian Shimjak, who's worked his way up to fourth for Murillo Racing. In the number 72 car, Stephen McAleer, 124.8. These guys are not hanging around. Robin Liddell, a 23.9, fastest man again last time around. He's now only a minute away from the leader. He's continuing to get up the field, and he is fueled for full reach to the end of the race. And we know how good Robin is in intermediate or changeable conditions. He is absolutely boss when it's like that. Meantime, in TCR, it's now from 20 seconds down to 4.5 seconds at the lead of TCR. Mikey Taylor within sight of the lead for Unitronic. JDC Miller, the pole-sitting Audi, as into the pit lane now comes Gregory Leofug in the Stephen Cameron Racing number 43. That car with a penalty early on for wrong starting driver, or change of starting driver. So that is the extra pit stop there. It looks like the Alpha's been down the pit lane as well for Tim Lewis. That'll drop them out of contention in the TCR category. That's an interesting one. And down at the bottom of turn 2 to turn 3, the leader, Robert Wiggins, being closed in on by Mikey Taylor in the number 17. There's one car between them at the moment, and interestingly, Mike Lamara has unlapped himself on the LA Honda World Civic, and he's pulled away by a good couple of seconds from the leader of the TCR race. Neither of these races are done yet, Jeremy Shaw. New fastest lap of the race for the car, the Toyota GR Supra, at 123.6, and in from fourth position has come Murillo Racing.
Yeah, it's not the fastest lap of the race, it's the fast lap for that car.
Yes, that's what I said.
In Billy Johnson.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon, I thought it was the fast lap of the race. For that car. And the gap now down to 1.3 seconds between first and second, but still there's a 23.8 last time around for Cameron Lawrence as well. So that's one of that car's quickest laps as well. There was a 23.5 turned very, very early on by Robert McGuinness, but a 23.8. That's the, I think that's the fastest lap that Cameron has turned in that car.
Wow. And Robert Liddell continues to turn good laps at 123.2 last time around.
Yeah, I mean, that Chevy's bit, that is the fastest car
no
here,
doubt.
No question about it, and has been pretty much every lap around. He's now got 11 seconds or more to catch up with Elliott Skir. He got past Matt Plum a couple of laps ago, and he's left him well in his mirrors. 3.3 seconds in 2 laps he's pulled out over the number 46 Aston Martin. As I say, next to his sights is Elliott Skir in a Motorsport Porsche that's running in 7th place, and just behind Austin McCusker.
Billy Johnson goes across the line again. Now what about this TCR battle? Wiggins now just under 3 seconds ahead of Mikey Taylor. Have they got this right? That number 33 Hyundai was in with Harry Gottsacker behind the wheel, who started the car. He handed it off, of course, to the current driver, and Robert Wickens. Was that one of the earlier cars to stop? Yes, it was, wasn't it? Because they got in, and he'd had
Fourth place car is in the pits. That's the championship leader, car number 72. So it's only the top three that have not yet made, at least of the contenders, a second pit stop. Everybody else has been on pit lane for a second time. We've got 12 minutes remaining in this 2-hour race.
Elliott Skier
and both of the first two, John, Billy Johnson, you talked about Billy Johnson setting his best lap a couple of laps ago. We did it again on the next lap as well.
This is starting to get interesting. Elliott Skier in the Motorsport Porsche has not yet stopped for a second time either, as Jesse Lazaire peels off for Motorsport in action. The Mia McLaren is in. That's their third time down pit lane. I don't think this is a fuel stop, Shea Adam. A top 10 finish beckoning for the Artura, but not now.
Oh, how heartbreaking. It looked almost as if they had a pressurized oil bottle and then decided not to try that. Now they're looking in the left rear of the car. But this is heartbreak for a Canadian team.
Shea Adam down in the pit lane with 11 minutes to go. And still watching the gap, and there's only one car now between the first and second. No, make that two cars now between first and second in TCR. That comes across the line, and I think the chasing Audi was off at the final corner there. There was a puff of dust from the outside of the final corner, White's corner there. So it's still just drizzling, but it's not really affecting the track surface. 23.6 from Cameron Lawrence, 23.8 from Hattori Motorsports Supra and Billy Johnson, and that 69 Mia McLaren has gone behind the wall. It is total heartbreak with 10 minutes to go for that team. That is such a shame. They were doing a great job, and as I said, looked like a top 10 finish was beckoning for them. Well, Jeremy, I would say where's your money on, but I might as well say, would you like to flick a coin at this point?
Yeah, tremendous stuff here, and lots of battles all the way down the field now with these cars having made second pit stops amongst the GS category cars, and Christian Shimjak is right behind Austin McCusker. It's number 19 and number 72 battling for 5th position right now. And right behind, or just ahead of them, is Stephen McAleer to 4th place in that RS1 Porsche. It's been a really fine effort by the RS1 team. Porsche doesn't seem to be quite on the pace as some of the other contenders here again this weekend. Surprisingly, there's been no changes to the BOP for the Porsche, because it seems the last several races they seem to be not quite on the pace of the others, but it's been an excellent run by that team.
Side by side, BMW and Supra, but it's not the BMW for the lead, it's their team car. There was no shenanigans there. You wouldn't expect that from Turner Motorsport. Didn't make it easy, but there was no nonsense going on there. That's the 96 Robbie Foley driven car, and now there are no cars between first and second as they go across the line, and a huge gaggle of cars right in front of the leader going through turn 1, including some TCRs in that as well. Elliott Skier, the Nola Sport car, who I think is on a massive fuel save at the moment. He's not made his second stop in that number 47 Nola Sport car. And here comes the Turner BMW to that group of cars. Nola Sport in there, one of the TGM cars. That's Owen Trinkler as well, who's in that group, as they're picking their way through the TCR battles. Mark Wilkins now in 3rd position, so it's Hyundai, Audi, Hyundai, and only 6/10 of a second between Robert Wiggins. He's in that group of cars just ahead of the overall leaders, and that's really tight for the lead now. They come across the line in behind the Rockwell Audi, the number 10 machine, that is sitting in 7th place for Preston Brown, down through turn 1. And now there's no cover at all for Wiggins. Wiggins has got to look in his mirrors. Brakes at the top of the hill at turn 2. in behind that Rockwell Audi. He needs to deal with that car, but he's saving fuel, remember, down the inside at the uphill at turn 3. Preston's seen him, I think, but that means he's had to pinch the corner and hasn't been able to clear the Audi. Here comes the number 17. As Billy Johnson comes in from second place, we've got a battle for the lead at Moss Corner. Does the 17 car and Mikey Taylor send it, the Rockwell car, off the track to allow the leader to go through? Now, can the 17 car deal with that? Mark Miller's in from third position as well. This is fuel only, I think, Shea Adam, for these two stoppers.
Affirmative on both of those. And just a final word on the Mia McLaren, it was a technical issue that stopped them from finishing this race.
They're not saying any more than that at the moment, yes. We'll find out, I'm sure.
We're in 2023 now, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's becoming more and more prevalent, isn't it, I guess?
Well,
Whatever.
indeed so. So Mark Miller and Billy Johnson both out. That's dropped them way back down now.
No, it shouldn't do. No. They will see where they come back out. They might not actually lose any positions. They were a long way ahead of Stephen McAleer.
Good point.
And Austin McCusker and Christian Schimjack as well. They were all fairly close in third, fourth and fifth.
But they have dropped time to Cameron Lawrence now, who's about to complete his 80th 8-0 lap. Michelin moment of the race. Now, where is that going? Shea Adam, we haven't spoken to you about this. Jeremy and I looking at the near perfect performance from Turner Motorsport. Fierce competition in third, another good run by those guys. Robin Liddell absolutely sending it on the TCR leader at the bottom of the hill going up into Moss Corner, and that's meant that Robert Wiggins had to lift off there as the white and green Camaro came through. No prisoners asked or taken there, Jeremy.
No, that was really quite tight for Robin Wiggins there. I think he saw the Camaro coming at the last minute, just about gave him room there, but that cost him about 4 or 5 car lengths. He had about 6 or 7 car lengths over the number 17 car as they headed up into Moss Corner on that lap. It's now down to, well, around about a car length as they come across the line. It'll be the 80th lap, no, 79th lap completed then by the TCR leaders. They are 1 lap down to the overall leaders.
In a race that for the TCR cars to only be a lap off the lead, that's pretty impressive. It shows you what their lap times have been. They've been running mid-25s, mid to high 25s. The leaders have been running low to mid-24s. That's not a big performance difference there, Jeremy, between the front of the GS field and the front of the TCR field. I think they've actually done really well, the TCR cars around here.
I agree. They have. It's been a nice, clean race for them. They were all, unfortunately, the battle that we normally see in TCR was kind of broken up in the early stages by some of the GS cars just kind of in the way and pulling away on the straights, but holding up some of the cars in the corners. Some of the TCRs were able to get past and pull away, but some of the others weren't, and it was really just sort of circumstances that caused that. But Turner Motorsport here with 4 minutes remaining, so it'll be another, where are they?
2 laps.
Maybe 2 laps after this, 2.5 laps I think probably to go for the race leader. And Billy Johnson, having made that pit stop, was able to hold on in second position, actually extend his lead over Mark Miller, who remains though in third position after that pit stop for the Thays competition, car number 78. And they're about 4 seconds ahead still of Stephen McAleer, who stopped a long time ago.
Yeah, 30 seconds though, as you say, away from the lead. Turner Motorsport still lapping 124 flat last time around by Cameron Lawrence. He does not need to be going that fast right now. The battle for first and second and TCR going down to the bottom of turn 2. Nothing between those two cars. Shea Adam, I was about to ask you about your nominations for Michelin moment of the race in GS. What do you reckon?
95 Turner Motorsport BMW, because they qualified nowhere and now they're leading the race, and they might be the only car that only does 1 stop.
Yes, at the moment it's looking very much like that. There was a little bit of a challenge for the lead going into Moss Corner in What about TCR, Shea? I mean, it's been good tactics and a great drive, fuel saving by Robert Wickens. Is that enough to get your nod, or are you going somewhere else?
Unless it changes the other way around, and then it would go to the 17, because it started off very well for them. Pole position today for Chris Miller, taking that honor away from our pole boy Matt Pombo, who's been the man to beat, and Chris finally did. So they'll be happy with the second place finish no matter what happens today, but they would be even happier with the first, and then it would get my nom. But if it's Wickens who brings it home first, then yeah, it's got to be the 33 for their great tactics throughout the entirety of the race.
And particularly this more than second half of the race, actually, Jeremy, because he was in a little bit before half-time, wasn't he? Because he got the car up to pace and the tyres up to temp, and actually converted that into what's often called, and I don't like it, but overcut. They used the performance advantage of those new Michelin front tyres to have a 20-second lead, and he, at the moment, he being Robert Wickens, working with the team, he's paced himself pretty much perfectly. That 20 seconds has gone now, but this is now the widest Hyundai Elantra that has ever been built. Round at Moss Corner now. Another look up the inside. There's a touch. It's bump and run. Oh dear. Now, that's not going to go down well down at Hyundai. Is that given back by Mikey Taylor, or has he gone through? No, he's gone through and he's clearing off. Now, do they allow the redress here, or do they wait to see what's said from race control? There's only 2 laps to go, Jeremy. If you were on the phone to Mikey Taylor, would you tell him to give that one back?
We're going to have to...
Oh, Wickens is coming in the pits. Wickens is pitting anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe it was not required, because with 1 lap to go, Robert Wickens is into the pit lane. Now, is this just for fuel? Shea Adam is there and watching this. Is this just a splash, or was that as a result of the tap?
Fuel nozzle is attached. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now he goes. Nope, it was fuel.
Nearly stalled it, but picked it up. Dropped the clutch in time. At Moss Corner, the lightest of touches as he went through. Race control. Yeah, we'll look at it though, Jeremy.
Look, ironically, he didn't need to do it, because I think the Hyundai was coming into the pits in any case. So, yeah, you hate to see a race decided like that, but it really wasn't decided by that. It was decided by the fact that the Brian O'Hare Motorsport team made its first stop too soon and had to come in for that splash right at the end of this race.
Shea Adam makes a good point. Did that car cough and or splutter for Robert Wickens as he was going up over the rise? You do get a bit of slosh, even though there's baffles in the tank. Was there a bit of fuel starvation there? Could have been. We won't know until we've spoken to the drivers at the end. It's the last lap for Cameron Lawrence and the rest of Turner Motorsport. This will be a phenomenal run of results for Turner Motorsport. They take our Michelin moment of the race in GS.
If he can get to the end. The clock has expired. He's done. The first stint was 41 laps, which you thought was impressive. This will be 43 laps though for Cameron Lawrence.
Amazing.
2 corners to go, John.
And this is a 1:25.2. This is one of the slowest laps last time around. 2 corners to go. It's Turner Motorsport. The tacos are on them as the VP Racing checkered flag waves at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And once again, it's Cameron Lawrence and the team who come through. Will Turner shakes his head. I suggest that was very close indeed. Shea Adam is down there with the team. Shea?
I'm down with JDC, waiting for the Unitronic Audi to cross the line, and I've never seen Chris Miller looking this nervous.
It's going to get a lap on the field here because of where the leader was. So they are only at Moss Corner, and that 17 car, well, it can't lose the race now because everybody behind it has taken the checkered flag, but that is not at speed. So they might be just easing this one to the line. They are right out of it, and Mikey Taylor, and someone stopped on the back straight. Someone has stopped on the back straight. There's someone run out of fuel. It's the 28 car, I think. Yes, it is. Stephen McAleer, RS1. I think that car is out of fuel on the last lap of the race. So drops out of the top 10. That means that Robin Liddell is on the podium. Robin Liddell's come through at the end to be on the podium for Rebel Rock Racing. My goodness me, what a run that is. What a run that is. Did we award the Michelin moment of the race too early? You can't take it away from Turner Motorsport. They were brilliant. But he was a lap down. Robin Liddell's come from a lap down, ladies and gentlemen, to be on the podium. How was that? What a run from Robin Liddell. Once again, Jeremy Shaw, the Scotsman's proved his worth.
Brilliant drive by Robin Liddell, no doubt about it. Clearly in the fastest car in the race, but he did a fabulous job. He was consistent and fast. Look, a shout out also to Hattori Motorsports. First time here in IMSA, they didn't run out of fuel on the last lap. They called their strategy absolutely perfectly. Didn't have quite the car in terms of pace to beat the BMW at the end. But look, that was an all-green race. It was a tremendous motor race all the way through. And hats off to Hattori Motorsports coming home with second position as well. I'm not going to argue with any of those calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of the movements of the race.
Top three, Turner Motorsport, Hattori Motorsport and Rebel Rock Racing. We'll give you our Michelin moment of the race in a second after we've spoken to Shea Adam with UDC Motorsport.
And for Unitronic, this was always going to be a big day with the home race, but Chris Miller, you and Mikey Taylor started it off on the right foot, putting it on the pole. Now you got the win for the second time here to back it up. How good does this feel?
So good. I mean, the guys have been working so hard, and it was a really tough race. We were saving fuel the whole time, and we didn't know if the Hyundais could make it. The track's just so difficult with traffic and hard on the car, and I'm just so proud of the guys to get us to the finish and give us the right strategy. So Mikey did a great job, and thanks to everybody from Unitronic that came out and supported us, and just happy to do it on their home soil.
More important thing is now you guys are right back there in the championship hunt heading to Lime Rock, so this should be exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, we still think we have things we can learn about this car, and the team's kind of clicking on all cylinders with the pit stops and things now, so we're excited.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Can we give one tyre each to the top four in GS, because they all did brilliant work, to be honest. In TCR, Jeremy, your Michelin moment of the race, Unitronic versus Brian Herter Autosport at the front. Brian Herter in third, LA Honda, Mike Lamara down a couple of, back on the lead lap at the end, and that got him into fourth position at the end there.
Really good job did Mike Lamara, 2013 series champion. It was the old ST category. I think you've got to give it to the JDC Miller Motorsports team. I mean, they called their strategy perfectly, got to the end there. There's a bit of a black mark in terms of that bump and run by Mikey Taylor, but in terms of strategy, which is what this call is all about, they called it just right, didn't they? And came away with the victory in TCR.
I think we've got to give it to Rebel Rock Racing for Robin Liddell's drive. From a lap down to on the podium and only 50 seconds behind the leader. The car was quick, but Robin had to execute. We've been talking about that all day. Turner get the glory of winning the race, and they deserve that, but the Michelin moment of the race then, a late call for Robin Liddell from a lap down plus to third on the podium. A place where that car has won a couple of times. What a way to go out. That's brilliant stuff. But as Jeremy said, really any of the top three, one could, well, we have to laud them all. How about Thays? A third and a fifth in two outings as well, Jeremy Shaw. They're setting themselves up well for a full season next year, we hope.
And they only lost third position on that final lap when Mark Miller clearly struggled for fuel, and he lost 10 seconds on that last lap, and that was the difference between third and fifth. So strategy, they didn't quite get it right, did they? Because they ran out on that last lap, and the others didn't. There was a big shuffle of positions on that final lap. It's really shuffling up the championship points, which I'm having a look at right now. But it will extend the lead quite significantly for Murillo Racing. Car number 72, they come away here with an 8th place finish. That car also lost a couple of positions in position to the last couple of laps, but still finished in 8th position. And now I reckon we'll have a 160 point lead over number 95 BMW, which I reckon will go from 6th in the points to 2nd, 10 ahead of their teammates in number 96 car, which will be 3rd in the points. So it's close for 2nd and 3rd, but Murillo Racing will extend their lead.
So our two Michelin moments of the race, one going to Unitronic, Chris Miller and Mikey Taylor, and the whole of the JDC Unitronics car. Absolutely perfect strategy. Linked with speed, they did not have to save fuel. They'll take the TCR moment of the race into Robin Liddell for driving back an hour and 20 minutes, a lap down to 50 seconds away from the lead, and a 3rd position finish. They got it absolutely right at Rebel Rock Racing. They'll take the GS call for the Michelin moment of the race. Shea Adam is at Victory Circle, just behind the pit lane. And we'll pick up some interviews before we go off the air. That was tremendously entertaining. I can say now, as Jeremy did, no yellow at all, full green. It's not been like that recently, but that was great racing. Shea Adam, who have you got?
Still waiting for Cameron Lawrence, but I can jump in with Rob McGuinness really quick while we are waiting. And we talked to him a little bit earlier on in the race. But Rob, you're now a race winner. Congratulations. What's it feel like?
Thank you. It's awesome. It's so cool to have, I've won open wheel races. I've never won a sports car race. And to have this whole group of people around me who have worked just as hard and who care just as much, having a co-driver that has to show that's awesome to be here with the team.
And to get it done at one of the most intimidating tracks in North America, too. That's going to make it even sweeter.
I know. I hadn't raced here before, and I didn't really know what to expect, and I really enjoyed it personally. So I hope we get to do some more races here.
Where are we going for tacos tonight?
I don't know. I mean, I would make the drive to Toronto, get some really good tacos. Some of these guys have to go win a GTD race tomorrow, so it may just be some separated tacos. Some virtual tacos.
Virtual tacos. I like the sound of it. Hey, congrats on the first win. First of many.
Thank you.
Oh, that is brilliant stuff. Really brilliant stuff for them. Jeremy working through the points. TCR.
Yeah, wow, it's super close now in TCR. The two Brian Herder Autosport with Koberger Janian cars were tied together at the top, number 98 and the number 33. Number 98 had it on a tiebreak with 1 win to 3 second places for number 33 car, or 2 second places. But the number 33 car with another second position today, and that is for Harry Gottsacker and Robbie Wickens. They will take the lead now on 1470 to the 1450 of the number 98 crew of Mason Philippi and Mark Wilkins, another Canadian there. They finished 3rd in the end of this very dramatic race. And Unitronic JD Miller Motorsports with Mikey Taylor and Chris Miller, they will be just on 1440, so 1470 for the leaders, 1450 for second, and just 10 points behind them in 3rd position with the win today, first win of the season for Mikey Taylor and Chris Miller. And that car, remarkably, they finished. They finished where they started. They started once in 4th position, finished 4th. Last time out, they've started 2nd, finished 2nd. This time, with Chris Miller starting on the pole position, and they converted into the win. That's number 17 car.
Yeah, you might look at the grid sheet and look at the result and say, nothing happened. Far from it. What an action-packed couple of hours. We lost about 8 cars, actually, in that race. The Motorsport in Action McLaren. We had Chris Wilson in the Will Sports car with a broken radiator stopped on the track. Victor Gonzalez Racing with power steering. LA Honda World, Ryan Eversley. That car didn't get to the end either. Jeff Mosing for Murillo Racing. Van der Ster Racing's Hyundai. Accelerating Performance, Moise Oretsky, the Vantage. There was accident damage with Winwood Racing as well. None of those got to the end. And right on the last lap, RS1 Stephen McAleer stopped on track. Now at the moment, that's still showing us in 12th position. I think that car will still be
Yes.
classified.
Yes.
And in fact, actually, Jesse Lazare is still showing as 18th in the class and classified as 25, despite it, 25th, despite it going behind the wall. Our annual visit to north of the border in front of one of the most knowledgeable and friendly crowds that we get all season has been an absolute belter. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Congratulations to Turner Motorsport and to Unitronic. Unitronic taking our Michelin moment of the race for TCR and Rebel Rock Racing in third. What a story that is on a track where they've won twice before. They're on the podium here after being a lap down early on in the race. Robin Liddell coming through to finish off the job and take the third step on the box. Shea Adam was in the pit lane. Jeremy Shaw was alongside me, John Hindhaugh, in the Global Broadcast Centre. BMW taking the manufacturer GS lead with that victory today. Back tomorrow on RS2 for the big race of the weekend. The WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, 2 hours and 40 minutes of action. Is it going to be like that? I hope so, and there's every chance that it could be. Join us for that in Sound and Vision outside of the US, XM Series 202 in the States and around the world on RS2. Kerry Cobb was making sure we went to the world up in London. Our great thanks to everyone trackside with all of the technical support, our camera operators, and of course our technical crew making the pictures talk to us up at Charlotte. I'm John Hindhaugh. For the whole team, have a good Saturday evening. We'll see you tomorrow. More action from IMSA and from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, live on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV.